champs of Examsnet, welcome to the question series of Examsnet. I hope this series of detailed explanation is helping you a lot. So today we are going to discuss NEET 2016 biology paper of phase 1 and we are total 90 questions in this paper. So let's start the session. The first question is from the chapter The Principles of Inheritance and Variation, and the question is, in a test cross involving F1 dihybrid flies, more parental type offspring were produced than the recombinant type offspring. This indicates that option A, both the characters are controlled by more than one gene. Option B, the two genes are located on two different chromosomes. Option C, chromosomes failed to separate during meiosis. And the last option says the two genes are linked and present on the same chromosome. Okay. So first of all, let's see what is a test cross. Okay. Test cross. Now what happens in test cross? In this type of cross, F1 hybrid is crossed with the recessive parent. Okay, so let's write it down here, is crossed with recessive parent. And what is the expected result in this case? It is 1:1. Okay, 1:1 ratio. Now, in this question, it is given that there are more parental type, okay, than the recombinant type. And this is possible when the genes will show linkage. Okay, so more parental type, it shows that there is linkage. And what does linkage means? It means that the genes must be located very close to each other. Okay, so genes are close to each other, then only they will show linkage, right? Linkage means they are linked with each other and they must be on the same chromosome. Same chromosome, right? So out of the given options, which should be the correct one? The last option. The two genes are linked and present on the same chromosome, then only they will show linkage, and in that case there will be more parental type than the recombinant type offspring. Okay, so option D is the correct answer. Question number 2 is from the chapter Biomolecules, and the question is, water-soluble pigments found in plant cell vacuoles are option A, anthocyanins, option B, xanthophylls, option C, chlorophylls, and option D, carotenoids. And the correct answer is option number A, that is anthocyanins. Okay, so we know that these type of pigments are example of secondary metabolites, right? Secondary metabolites. And anthocyanin is found in the plant cell vacuole as it is mentioned in the question, and it is responsible for the colors such as red, blue and purple color. Okay, let's write it down here, red, blue and purple color of flowers, fruits or vegetables, etc., depending on the environmental condition. For example, if it is in acidic environment, then it will appear as red color, okay, in acidic condition, whereas in case of alkaline condition it will appear as blue color. Got it? Now it has some health benefits also, as we know. Health benefits. What are the health benefits of anthocyanin pigment? It has some antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Okay, antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. So this was all about anthocyanins. So option A will be the correct answer. Question number 3 is from the chapter Chemical Coordination and Integration, and the question is, which of the following pairs of hormones are not antagonistic to each other, that means having opposite effects? Okay, so let's check. In the first option we have relaxin and inhibin. So what does relaxin do? We know that relaxin hormone causes pelvic musculature relaxation. Okay, let's write it down here. Pelvic musculature relaxation. And what is the effect of inhibin hormone? Inhibin It just inhibits the FSH. Okay, inhibits FSH, that is follicular stimulating hormone. So we can see that the effects of these two hormones are not opposite to each other. These are different. Okay, so this will be the correct answer. They are not antagonistic to each other. But let's see other options as well. In the second option, we have parathormone and calcitonin. So parathormone. What does parathormone do? It increases the blood calcium level. Okay, it increases blood calcium level. And what does calcitonin do? Calcitonin, it decreases the blood calcium level. Okay, so we can see that these are having opposite effects. That means these are antagonistic to each other. Okay, in the third option we have insulin and glucagon. Now insulin, we know that insulin is responsible for decreasing the blood glucose level, right? So it decreases the blood glucose level, whereas the other one, that is glucagon has just opposite effect. That means it increases the blood glucose level. So again these two are antagonistic to each other, right? And the last one is aldosterone. Aldosterone, let's write ALD in short. So what does aldosterone do? It increases the blood pressure. Okay, it increases the blood pressure. And the other one, that is arterial natriuretic factor, that is ANF. What does it do? It has the opposite effect, that is it decreases the blood pressure. So again these two are antagonistic to each other. That means just except the first one, all three are antagonistic to each other. So according to this question, the correct option will be option number A. Question number 4 is from the chapter Cell, the Unit of Life, and the question is mitochondria and chloroplast are, first one is that they are semi-autonomous organelles, and the second one is that they are formed by division of pre-existing organelles and they contain DNA but they lack protein synthesizing machinery. So let's discuss about the first one, that is, are they semi-autonomous organelles? Yes, they are semi-autonomous organelles. So what are autonomous organelles? Let's see. Autonomous organelles. So these are the organelles which are completely independent, right? Completely independent. That means they do not require the help of any other organelle for any of their function. And there is only one fully autonomous organelle, that is the nucleus. Okay. So the example is nucleus because it does not depend on any other organelle for any of its function. Okay. On the other hand, most of the organelles are non-autonomous organelles. That means these are completely dependent on the nucleus, right? Completely dependent on nucleus. So this is about the autonomous and non-autonomous. But there are some exceptional organelles which are known as semi-autonomous organelles. So what do you mean by semi-autonomous organelles? It means that they are neither completely dependent nor completely independent. How? Let's see. They have or they contain their own genetic material. Okay? Their own genetic material. So due to this, they are able to reproduce independently of the nucleus. Reproduce independently of the nucleus. So for reproduction, they do not depend on nucleus, unlike the non-autonomous organelles. But for certain functions, they require the help of nucleus. Therefore, these are known as semi-autonomous. Okay. So these are neither completely independent of the nucleus nor completely dependent of the nucleus. Okay. Understood? And we know that mitochondria and chloroplasts are example of such semi-autonomous organelles. Now let's talk about the second statement. It says that they are formed by division of pre-existing organelles. So this is the correct one. and they contain DNA but lack protein synthesizing machinery. Now, this is not correct because although they contain DNA, this part is correct that they contain their own DNA, but they don't lack protein synthesizing machinery because we know that the semi-autonomous organelles, they have single circular DNA plus they have 70S type of ribosome. Okay, 70S type of ribosome as well. And we know that ribosome is the organelle that helps in the synthesis of protein. So we cannot say that they lack protein synthesizing machinery because this ribosome will help in synthesizing protein. So only first option will be correct. A will be correct, but B will not be correct. Okay. So A is correct, but B is false. So the last option, this one, option number D will be correct, that A is true, but B is false. Okay. Question number 5 is from the chapter Biotechnology Principles and Processes. And the question is, which of the following is not a feature of the plasmids? Okay. Options are single-stranded, independent replication, circular structure, and transferable. So first of all, let's see what are plasmids. We know that plasmids are small, circular, double-stranded DNA molecule. Okay. Double-stranded DNA molecule, and these are distinct from the chromosomal DNA. Distinct from the chromosomal DNA. So these are extra chromosomal DNA, right? And they look something like this, circular and double stranded. And they have the small stretch of DNA that is known as origin of replication, or ORI in short. Okay. Now let's come to the options. First one is that they are single stranded. So the first option only is the incorrect one because we have seen that plasmids are double stranded, not single stranded. Okay. Second one is that independent replication. Yes, this is correct option because we have seen that they have this origin of replication, right? So with the help of this origin of replication, they can replicate independently of the host bacterial chromosome. Okay, therefore independent replication is the feature of plasmids. Then the third one is they are circular, they have circular structure. Again, this is a correct one because we have seen they are circular. Then the last one is transferable. This is also true. We know that it is used to form recombinant DNA, right? Plasmids are used to form recombinant DNA, and then it is easily transferred in the target organism. Transferred in the target organism. So we can see that option number B, C and D are features of plasmids, whereas option number A is incorrect because this is not a feature of plasmids. Okay. So option A is the correct answer here. Now question number 6 is from the chapter photosynthesis, and the question is, a plant in your garden avoids photorespiratory losses, has improved water use efficiency, shows high rates of photosynthesis at high temperatures, and has improved efficiency of nitrogen utilization. In which of the following physiological groups would you assign this plant? Options are nitrogen fixer, C3 plants, C4 plants, and CAM plants. So here some of the characteristics of a plant are mentioned, and we have to identify the type of plant. Okay. So first of all, what is photorespiration? We know that in simple photosynthesis, what happens in photosynthesis? Here carbon dioxide is absorbed and oxygen is given out, right? Oxygen is given out. In case of photorespiration, the case is just the opposite. That means oxygen is absorbed or oxygen is taken in, whereas carbon dioxide is given out. So we can say that in case of photorespiration, there is loss of fixed carbon, as carbon dioxide. Therefore, it causes photorespiratory loss, right? This is known as photorespiratory loss. And it takes place in which plant? It takes place in C3 plants. So here the characteristic that is mentioned is that this plant avoids photorespiratory losses. That means C3 cannot be the correct answer because it cannot avoid photorespiratory losses. The nitrogen fixer is also not the correct answer because it simply fixes the atmospheric nitrogen in certain forms such as nitrate or nitrite. Okay. Now we come to the third and fourth option, that is C4 and CAM plants. Now both of them can avoid photorespiratory losses. Okay. Photorespiration does not take place in these two types of plants. So no photorespiration. So let's move to another characteristics that is mentioned here. So this plant has improved water use efficiency. It shows high rates of photosynthesis at high temperature and has improved efficiency of nitrogen utilization. So these characteristics are for C4 plants, okay, because we know that C4 plants have special type of anatomy known as Kranz anatomy, okay, and this is responsible for all these characteristics. Therefore, the correct answer will be option number C, that is C4 plants. Question number 7 is again from photosynthesis, and the question is Emerson's enhancement effect and red drop have been instrumental in the discovery of option A, oxidative phosphorylation, option B, photophosphorylation and non-cyclic electron transport, option C, two photosystems operating simultaneously, and the last option is photophosphorylation and cyclic electron transport. And the correct answer is option C, that is two photosystems operating simultaneously. Okay, so basically an experiment was conducted in which first two different lights were used which were of different wavelengths. Okay, a light of shorter wavelength and a light of longer wavelength were used separately to observe the rate of photosynthesis. Okay, then next time the light of these two wavelengths, that is shorter wavelength and longer wavelength, were used simultaneously to check if there is any change in the rate of photosynthesis, and it was observed that this time the rate of photosynthesis was much higher. That means when these two wavelengths were used simultaneously, then the rate of photosynthesis increased. Photosynthesis increased. Okay, so it was concluded that there must be two different photosystems that are working at different wavelengths. Okay, and these two photosystems were named as PS1, which work best at 700 nanometer, and the photosystem 2 or PS2 that works at 680 nanometer. Okay, and when these two photosystems were functioning together, then there was enhancement in the quantum yield, right, because there was increase in rate of photosynthesis. So we can say that this effect is related to two photosystems operating simultaneously, Emerson's enhancement effect. Okay, it means there was enhancement in quantum yield. And what is red drop? Red drop, it occurs due to the decreased functioning of PS2 beyond 680 nanometer. Okay, so when the light of wavelength more than 680 nanometer was used, then there was decrease in the functioning of PS2. So let's write it down here. Occurs due to decreased functioning of PS2 beyond 680 nanometer. Therefore, the correct answer will be option number C, two photosystems operating simultaneously. Question number 8 is from the chapter Structural Organization in Animals, and the question is which type of tissue correctly matches with its location. So let's see, the first type of tissue that is mentioned here is cuboidal epithelium. Okay, it is cuboidal epithelium. And where is this tissue found? It is found in the ducts of glands and tubular parts of the nephrons in kidneys. Okay, let's write it down here. Found in ducts of glands, then tubular parts of nephrons in the kidneys. Nephrons in the kidneys. And its main function is absorption and secretion. Okay, absorption and secretion. But here it is matched with lining of stomach, which is not correct. So the first one is not correctly matched. Then the second type of tissue mentioned here is smooth muscle, and in case of wall of intestine, smooth muscle is found, therefore this is correctly matched. Okay, it is formed by smooth muscle, and we know that smooth muscles are non-striated and involuntary muscles. The third type of tissue is areolar tissue, and here it is matched with tendons, which is again incorrectly matched because we know that the areolar tissue is present in the skin. Okay, let's write it down here. Areolar tissue, areolar tissue, it is present in the skin and it binds the outer layers of skin to the muscles beneath. Okay, binds the outer layer of the skin to the muscles beneath. That means the muscles lying below the skin. Okay, so this is again incorrectly matched. And the last one is transitional epithelium. Here it is matched with tip of nose, again incorrect. Where is transitional epithelium found? It is found in the lining of wall of urinary bladder. Okay, in the lining of wall of urinary bladder and not in the tip of nose. So the only correctly matched is second number, that is smooth muscle with wall of intestine. So the correct answer will be option number B, that is second one. Now question number 9 is from the chapter Organisms and Populations, and the question is when does the growth rate of a population following the logistic model equal 0? The logistic model is given as dn by dt equals to rn 1 minus n by k. Okay, so we have to find the condition in which the growth rate becomes 0. That means dn by dt becomes 0. Okay, so we know that when this n by k will be equal to 1, then what will happen? Here we have Rn and here we'll get 1 minus 1. Okay, when the value of n by k will be equal to 1. So in that case it will be Rn into 0. Okay, 1 minus 1 is 0. So it will become 0. dn by dt will become 0. So this is possible when n by k is exactly 1. Therefore option B will be the correct answer. Question number 10 is from the chapter Sexual Reproduction and Flowering Plants, and the question is which one of the following statements is not true? Okay, so the first statement says stored pollen in liquid nitrogen can be used in the crop breeding programs. So this is an absolutely correct statement. Okay, then the second statement says tapetum helps in dehiscence of anther. Now this is not a correct statement because we know that the dehiscence of anther is not due to tapetum. Instead, it is due to the stomium cells of endothecium. Okay, due to stomium cells of endothecium, not the tapetum. Okay, Third statement says exine of pollen grains is made up of sporopollenin. This is again a correct statement. Exine is the outer layer, intine is the inner layer. Okay. So this is made up of sporopollenin. Now the last statement says pollen grains of many species cause severe allergies. This is also a well-known fact, right? So the only incorrect statement is the second one, that is option B will be the correct answer here. Now question number 11 is from the chapter biological classification, and the question is which one of the following statements is wrong. So we have to find out the incorrect statement. Okay. The first statement says phycomycetes are also called algal fungi. So this is a correct statement. So phycomycetes are called algal fungi due to their resemblance with the algae. Okay. Then the second statement says cyanobacteria are also called blue-green algae. Again, this is a correct statement. We know that cyanobacteria are photosynthetic organisms, right? Photosynthetic. That means they can synthesize their own food in the presence of sunlight. Now, they are also known as blue-green algae due to their appearance. Okay, they are greenish or bluish in appearance. Then the third statement says golden algae are also called desmids. This is also a correct statement. Golden algae belong to which group? Chrysophytes. Okay, chrysophytes. Then the last statement says eubacteria are also called false bacteria. Now this is the incorrect statement because we know that eubacteria are also known as true bacteria, not false bacteria. Okay. What is another type of bacteria? That is archaebacteria. Archaebacteria, that is of primitive type. Okay. So according to this, the wrong statement is option number D. So this will be the correct answer. Now question number 12 is from the chapter Plant Growth and Development, and the question is the Avena curvature is used for bioassay of, options are ethylene, then ABA, that is abscisic acid, then GA3, that is gibberellic acid, and the last one is IAA, that is indole 3 acetic acid. Okay, so what does this Avena curvature mean? The word Avena has been taken from the scientific name of a plant, that is Avena sativa. Okay, Avena sativa, and the common name of this plant is oat. So you must have heard of oat plant, right? So an experiment was conducted with this plant where the coleoptile was first taken out from the plant. That is the this portion, coleoptile part. Okay, this is the coleoptile, and then the tip of this coleoptile was removed. This is the tip part. It was cut. So what happened? The tip was separated from the lower part. Okay, right? So it has now two separate parts. Now in the second step, what happened? It was already known that the tip consists of auxin. Okay, the auxin is synthesized in the apical part, right? So what happened? A block of agar gel was taken. Okay, agar gel, and this tip part was kept on this agar gel, so the auxin got transferred into this agar gel. Okay, auxin was transferred to the agar gel. So now the gel consisted of the auxin. Now in the next step, what happened? This agar gel was kept on the remaining part of the coleoptile, this part, but only on one side of this part. Okay, so suppose this is the remaining part. So this gel was kept on only one side, not on the other side, and this gel consisted of the auxin. So this auxin was transferred only to this one side. Okay, auxin got transferred to only one side of the remaining coleoptile part. Okay, And we know that auxin is responsible for the apical dominance, right? That means increasing the length. So due to that, only this side where the gel was kept got increased. Okay. So only one side of coleoptile increased and the other side remained unaffected. So it was like this side increased and this side remained unaffected because the gel was kept on one side. So this took shape of a curvature like this. Okay, so a curvature kind of shape was formed. Curvature was formed and this is known as Avena curvature. Avena curvature. So now it is clear that this experiment was related to the auxin, okay, which hormone? Auxin. And we know that indole 3-acetic acid is an example of natural auxin that is made in the plant. Okay, it is made by the plant body. So we can say that the Avena curvature is used for bioassay of indole 3-acetic acid. So option D will be the correct answer. Question number 13 is from the chapter Evolution, and the question is, which of the following structures is homologous to the wing of a bird? Okay, so first of all, what do we mean by homologous structure? These are the structures that have developed as a result of divergent evolution. Okay, so these are result of divergent evolution. Now, what is meant by divergent evolution? It means that the organs or the structures have some common ancestry, okay, common origin or ancestry, but they have developed in order to perform different functions. So, different functions are being performed by these organs in spite of having some common origin, okay. Now, since they have the common origin or common ancestry, they have similar anatomical structure, right? Anatomical structure. And one of the examples of such structures is wing of a bird that is mentioned in the question. Wing of a bird and flipper of whale. So they have similar anatomical structure, that is skeletal structure. Skeletal structure is similar, but they have different functions. So it is quite clear that wing of a bird is used to fly, whereas the flipper of whale is used to swim. Okay. Therefore, the correct answer will be option number A, that is flipper of whale. Question number 14 is from the chapter Body Fluids and Circulation, and the question is, blood pressure in the pulmonary artery is option A, less than that in vena cava, option B, same as that in the aorta, option C, more than that in the carotid, and the last one is more than that in the pulmonary vein. So the correct answer is option D, that is more than that in the pulmonary vein. Okay, so in normal condition, what happens? The blood pressure in the pulmonary artery is more as compared to the pulmonary vein. Okay, this is the normal condition. But if the blood pressure in pulmonary artery becomes lower as compared to the blood pressure in the pulmonary vein, then what will happen? This will lead to the abnormal condition. Abnormal condition, and it will eventually lead to pulmonary hypertension, pulmonary hypertension, and pulmonary edema. Okay, so these are the problems that can be created by this condition. So the correct answer will be that the blood pressure in the pulmonary artery is more than the pulmonary vein. So option D is the correct answer. Question number 15 is from the chapter Reproduction, and the question is, fertilization in humans is practically feasible only if first option is the sperms are transported into cervix, within 48 hours of release of ovum in uterus. Now this is not necessary because we know that the sperms remain viable for up to 5 days. Okay, so viability of sperms is up to 5 days. And in these 5 days, whenever the ovum is released, the fertilization is possible. Okay. In the second statement, it is given that the sperms are transported into vagina just after the release of ovum in fallopian tube. Again, this is not the correct answer due to the same reason that in these 5 days, anytime the fertilization can take place, there is no such condition as mentioned in this. Okay. Then the third option says the ovum and sperms are transported simultaneously to ampullary stomach junction of the fallopian tube. Now this is the correct answer. Okay, let's see the sequence in which the sperms will be transported. First they will be released in the vagina, then they will enter the cervix, the next part will be the uterus, and then the fallopian tube. Also the fallopian tube has different parts. The first part of the fallopian tube is the isthmus. Okay, isthmus and then ampulla. There is one more part of the fallopian tube, that is fundibulum, in fundibulum, but these two parts are most important because at the junction of these two parts fertilization takes place. Okay, so the most important thing is the sperms and ovum should meet at this junction, and for them to meet at this junction they must be transported simultaneously to this isthmic ampullary junction. Okay, and this junction is part of fallopian tube, right? So option C is the correct answer. In the last option, it is given that ovum and sperms are transported simultaneously to ampullary stomach junction of cervix. So this is not correct because this junction belongs to fallopian tube, not the cervix. Okay, so only option C is the correct answer. Now question number 16 is from the chapter Cell Cycle and Cell Division, and the question is, in meiosis, crossing over is initiated at, options are diplotin, pachytene, leptotene and zygotene, and the correct answer is option B, that is pachytene. Okay, so in pachytene, crossing over of genetic material takes place. Crossing over of genetic material between non-sister chromatids. Okay, non-sister chromatids takes place. What happens in case of diplotin? In this stage, synaptonymal complex are dissolved. So, dissolution of synaptonymal complex takes place. And when is this synaptonymal complex formed? It is formed in zygotene stage. Okay, because in zygotene, synopsis begins. Synopsis or synopsis begins, and it leads to the formation of synaptonymal complex. Complex formed. And then leptotene is left. So in case of leptotene, chromosomes begin to condense. Chromosomes begin to condense. So now it is clear that the correct answer is option number B, because crossing over takes place in this stage. Question number 17 is from the chapter Biological Classification, and the question is, chrysophytes, euglenoids, dinoflagellates and slime molds are included in the kingdom. Options are Animalia, Monera, Protista and Fungi. So we know that all these belong to Protista kingdom. Okay, and Protista are unicellular and eukaryotic organisms, right? Unicellular and eukaryotes. Okay, so option C is the correct answer. Question number 18 is from the chapter Locomotion and Movement, and the question is, Lack of relaxation between successive stimuli in sustained muscle contraction is known as, options are tonus, spasm, fatigue and tetanus. And the correct answer is option D, that is tetanus. Okay. So what is tetanus? It is sustained muscle contraction. Sustained muscle contraction in response to successive stimuli. Successive stimuli. That means, suppose each peak shows the contraction. Then we know that between two contractions there will be relaxation. But when successive stimuli are given, then what happens? There is no time for relaxation and there is sustained contraction. And this is tetanus. Okay. Now what about other options? First one is tonus. So tonus is basically low level activity of muscles at rest to maintain posture. Maintain posture. What does it mean? It means that even when you are at rest, your body is not completely relaxed, your muscles are not completely relaxed. There is some amount of contraction in order to maintain the posture. Okay. Then the spasm. Spasm means sudden involuntary muscle contraction. Okay. Involuntary muscle contraction, and it is often painful. Okay. And this is fatigue. Fatigue basically means the feeling of being tired, and it is due to the decline in muscle activity. Decline in muscle activity. So you don't feel active. Okay. And therefore you feel tired. So our correct answer is option number D. Question number 19 is from the chapter Human Reproduction, and the question is, identify the correct statement on inhibin. So inhibin is a hormone that is produced by the gonads, right? Gonads. So let's see the statements. First statement says it is produced by nerve cells in testis and inhibits the secretion of luteinizing hormone. Second statement says it inhibits the secretion of luteinizing hormone, follicular stimulating hormone and prolactin. Third statement, it is produced by granulosa cells in ovary and inhibits the secretion of follicular stimulating hormone. And the last one says it is produced by granulosa cells in ovary and inhibits the secretion of luteinizing hormone. So the correct answer is option C. See, we know that this hormone, that is inhibin, is secreted by the gonads in both males as well as females. Okay. Males and females. In males, it is produced by the Sertoli cells in the testis, and in females, it is produced by the granulosa cells of the ovary. Okay. And it is responsible for inhibiting the secretion of follicular stimulating hormone. It inhibits the secretion of follicular stimulating hormone, and it reduces the amount of luteinizing hormone. Okay. So it does not inhibit the secretion of luteinizing hormone. It just reduces the amount. Therefore, only correct option is option number C. Now question number 20 is from the chapter Breathing and Exchange of Gases. And the question is, name the chronic respiratory disorder caused mainly by cigarette smoking. Options are respiratory alkalosis, then emphysema, then asthma and respiratory acidosis. Okay. So the correct answer is option B, that is emphysema. What happens in emphysema? Here, due to cigarette smoking, the alveolar walls are damaged. Okay. So alveolar walls damage. What about other options? In the first one, we have respiratory alkalosis. Alkalosis, that means alkaline condition will develop. Okay, and this is due to the decrease in amount of carbon dioxide. Okay, when the amount of carbon dioxide will be decreased, that means more carbon dioxide will be eliminated from the body, then blood pH will increase and it will lead to alkaline condition. So this is known as respiratory alkalosis, and respiratory acidosis is just the opposite. That means in this case the body will not be able to eliminate carbon dioxide, and due to that the amount of carbon dioxide will increase, and due to that blood pH will decrease, and it shows that there will be acidic condition. Okay, so this is known as respiratory acidosis. And this is asthma. So we know that asthma is a type of allergy. In this, inflammation of bronchi and bronchioles takes place. Okay, inflammation of bronchi and bronchioles. Okay, so the correct answer according to this question is option number B, emphysema. Question number 21 is from the chapter Principles of Inheritance and Variation, and the question is, which of the following most appropriately describes hemophilia? Options are dominant gene disorder, then recessive gene disorder, then X-linked recessive gene disorder, and chromosomal disorder. And the correct answer is option number C, that is X-linked recessive gene disorder. Okay, because we know that the gene related with hemophilia is always present on the X chromosome. Let's write it down here. Gene for hemophilia is present on the X chromosome. Okay, and it expresses itself in females when comes in a homozygous condition. Therefore, it is a recessive gene disorder. Okay, so this is X-linked recessive gene disorder. Therefore, option C will be the correct answer. Now, question number 22 is from the chapter Plant Kingdom, and the question is, select the correct statement. The first statement says the leaves of gymnosperms are not well adapted to extremes of climates, which is not true, because we know that the leaves of gymnosperms are well adapted. Okay, well adapted to extreme conditions, right? Then the second statement says gymnosperms are both homosporous and heterosporous. So this is also incorrect because these are always heterosporous, not homosporous. Okay. Then the third statement says Salvinia, Ginkgo and Pinus are all gymnosperms. Again, this is an incorrect statement because we know that the Salvinia belongs to which group? Pteridophytes. Okay. It is an aquatic pteridophyte. Whereas Ginkgo and Pinus are gymnosperms. Okay. Then the last statement says Sequoia is one of the tallest tree. Now this is the correct statement. Sequoia is also a gymnosperm and it is known as giant redwood tree. Giant redwood tree. Okay. So this is the correct statement. Option number D is the correct answer. Question number 23 is from the chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance, and the question is, which of the following is required as inducer for the expression of lac-operon? Options are lactose and galactose, glucose, galactose and lactose. Okay, so first of all we know that lac-operon is an inducible operon. Okay, inducible operon. That means it can be induced by an inducer, and the most suitable inducer for lac operon is the lactose. And it is quite clear from the name also. Lac means lactose. Okay, lac comes from the lactose. Now what is lactose? It is a substrate for the enzyme beta galactosidase. Okay, it is a substrate for the enzyme beta galactosidase. And it regulates the switching on and off of the operon. Therefore, it is termed as inducer. And how does it do so? It basically binds with the repressor protein and makes the promoter site accessible to the RNA polymerase. Okay, so let's write it down here. It binds with the repressor protein and thereby makes the promoter site accessible to the RNA polymerase. To initiate the transcription of lac operon. Okay, lac operon. So basically it helps the RNA polymerase to initiate the transcription of lac operon, right? Therefore, the correct answer will be option number D, that is lactose. Question number 24 is from the chapter Principles of Inheritance and Variation. And the question is, a tall true breeding garden pea is crossed with a dwarf true breeding garden pea. When F1 plants were selfed, the resulting genotypes were in the ratio of, okay. So let's see, a tall true breeding garden pea. Tall true, that means capital T, okay. And dwarf true, that means small t, small tree, okay. Now, these were crossed. So the gamete formation from this first one will be capital T and from the second one will be small t. So what will be the genotype? It will be capital T, small t of the F1 progeny, right? Now the F1 plants were selfed. That means F1 was crossed with another F1. So F1 were selfed. It means that capital T small t was crossed with another capital T small t. So what will be the genotype of the resulting F2 generation? Okay, so let's see, capital T small t, capital T small t. So this way we'll see what are the genotypes of the F2 progeny. Here we get capital T, here we get capital T small t, here we get capital T small t, and here small t and small t. So the ratio of capital T, then capital T small t and small t is 1 is to 2 is to 1. Okay, because we have one capital T, two capital T small t, okay, and only one small t, right? Now capital T is what? Tall homozygous, because both genes are same, homozygous. Capital T small t is tall, but it is heterozygous. Heterozygous. And small t will be dwarf. So from here we can see that the correct ratio will be option number B. Tall homozygous is to tall heterozygous, is to dwarf will be 1:2:1 as we have seen here. So option B is the correct answer. Question number 25 is from the chapter Biotechnology and its applications, and the question is, which part of the tobacco plant is infected by Meloidogyne incognita? Options are root, flower, leaf and stem, and the correct answer is option A, that is root. Okay, so Meloidogyne incognita is actually a nematode parasite. It is a nematode parasite and it affects the roots of plant, so it is also known as southern root nematode or cotton root knot nematode. Okay, so in order to prevent the spread of Meloidogyne incognita, the strategy that has been adapted is RNA interference. Okay, so prevention strategy for this is RNA interference, and it is used to silence the specific mRNA of the nematode. Silence the specific mRNA of the nematode. That is, basically it prevents the translation of mRNA of the nematode. Due to this, it is unable to survive in the transgenic host plant and the plant is protected from this parasite. Okay, so I hope you understood this question. Next question is from the chapter Cell Cycle and Cell Division, and the question is, which of the following is not a characteristic feature during mitosis in somatic cells? So mitosis is an equational division, right? Equational division, and it takes place in somatic cells for normal growth and repair of the body. Now let's come to the options. First one is synapses, and this option only is not the characteristic feature of mitosis because it takes place in meiosis. Okay, what happens in synapses? Pairing of homologous chromosomes takes place. Pairing of homologous chromosomes during meiosis is synapses. Okay, so it doesn't take place in mitosis, it takes place in meiosis. So this will be the correct answer. Now let's talk about other options. Second one is spindle fibers. So we know that this is part of mitosis because chromosomes are attached to the spindle fibers, right? Let's write it down here. Chromosomes are attached to the spindle fibers through the kinetochores, right? Third option is disappearance of nucleolus. It also takes place in mitosis during the prophase. During prophase of mitosis. Then the last one is chromosome movement. Again, this happens in mitosis during the anaphase. Anaphase of mitosis. And what happens? Here the chromosomes move towards the pole. Chromosomes start moving towards the poles. So which one is not the part of mitosis? Synapses. So option A is the correct answer. Question number 27 is from the chapter Human Health and Disease, and the question is, which of the following statements is not true for cancer cells in relation to mutations? So what is mutation? It means sudden change in genome, right? Sudden change in genome. Now we know that in normal condition, our body has a mechanism of cell control in order to avoid the abnormal growth of cells. But what happens in case of cancer? There is mutation in the cells. Mutation. This is the root of cancer, because due to mutation there is abnormal growth of cells. Okay, abnormal growth of cells, and it leads to the formation of cancerous cells. Now, why are cancerous cells dangerous? It is because they take up the nutrition of normal cells, and due to this the normal cells are starved to death. Okay. Now, one more important thing about the cancerous cells is that they have high telomerase activity. Okay, these cancerous cells have high telomerase activity. Telomerase is the enzyme that helps to prevent the telomeres from shortening. Okay. Now let's come to the statements. The first statement says mutations inhibit the production of telomeres. So telomeres are the terminal portion of the chromosomes, right? Suppose this is the chromosome, then the terminal portion is known as telomere. Now telomeres are required for the cell division. Now here it is saying that the mutation will inhibit the production of telomeres, which is not true, because mutations will actually lead to the production of telomeres. Okay, production of more telomeres, so that there is more cell division, and this will lead to the abnormal growth of cells. So this statement is incorrect. Okay, it does not inhibit the production of telomeres. Okay. Then the second statement says mutations in proto-oncogenes accelerates the cell cycle. Okay, it will be accelerates. So this is a correct statement. See, mutations in proto-oncogenes, when it will take place, then proto-oncogenes will become oncogenes. Okay, and these oncogenes are responsible for the formation of cancerous cells. Okay. So this is correct statement, that due to mutation there will be the development of oncogenes, and that will accelerate the cell cycle and leads to the formation of cancerous cells. Okay. Now the third statement says mutations destroy the telomerase inhibitor. Now this is also correct, because see, telomerase inhibitor will inhibit the telomerase, right? But we need telomerase in case of cancer cells. So mutations will destroy the inhibitor so that the telomerase can become more active. Okay, and when it will become active, it will lead to the rapid cell division. Okay, so this is a correct statement. Then the last statement says mutations inactivate the cell control. This is also correct, because cell control is the characteristic of normal condition, not cancerous condition. Okay, in case of cancer there is mutation which inactivates the cell control. Okay, so that there is abnormal growth of cells. So the only incorrect statement out of these four is the first one. All other three are correct. Okay, and we have to find out the not true, that is incorrect. So option A will be the answer here. Question number 28 is from the chapter Biological Classification, and the question is, one of the major components of cell wall of most fungi is, options are hemicellulose, chitin, peptidoglycan and cellulose. Okay, so the correct answer is option B, chitin. This is a direct question. We know that fungi have chitin in their cell wall. Okay, so option B is the correct answer. Question number 29 is from the chapter Morphology of Flowering Plants, and the question is, cotyledon of maize grain is called, options are scutellum, plumule, coleorhiza and coleoptile, and the correct answer is option A, that is scutellum. So again, this is a direct question. We know that maize is a monocot plant, right? Monocot. And what does monocot mean? It means that they have only one cotyledon. So in maize, there is a single large shield shaped cotyledon that is known as scutellum. Okay, this is single large shield shaped. So it looks like a shield, right? What is plumule? It is the future shoot, okay, that will develop as shoot later on. What is coleorhiza? It is the protective covering of the radicle, okay, protective covering of the radicle of root, okay. And what is coleoptile? It is the protective covering of plumule. So I hope you understood this. Option A will be the correct answer. Question number 30 is from the chapter Ecosystem, and the question is, which of the following would appear as the pioneer organisms on bare rocks? Options are green algae, lichens, liverworts and mosses. So what are pioneer organisms? These are the organisms which are first to colonize, okay? First to colonize the bare rocks, and bare rocks means there will be no soil there. So which organism will be able to live in such environment? Lichen. Okay. So lichen will be the correct answer. It is the pioneer organism that will colonize the bare rock. Okay. And what are lichens? These are the symbiotic association of algae and fungi. Algae plus fungi. So what does it do? It will secrete the acid. It will secrete acid, and this acid will be responsible for breaking the rock. Okay, so it will break the rock, and when the rock will get broken, then soil will be formed. Okay, so soil formation will take place, and then further organisms can grow in this environment. Okay, so our correct answer is option number B. Question number 31 is from the chapter Human Reproduction, and the question is, changes in GnRH pulse frequency in females is controlled by circulating levels of, options are progesterone and inhibin, estrogen and progesterone, estrogen and inhibin, and the last one is progesterone only. So the correct answer is option B, that is estrogen and progesterone. Okay. What is GnRH? It means gonadotropin releasing hormone, right? Let's write it down here. Gonadotropin releasing hormone, and it is secreted by the hypothalamus. Okay, it is released by hypothalamus. Now there are two hormones which are collectively known as gonadotropin releasing hormone, and these are follicular stimulating hormone, that is FSH, and LH, that is luteinizing hormone. Okay. Now the levels of these two hormones are controlled by negative feedback mechanism. Okay. Negative feedback mechanism, and it is done by two hormones, namely progesterone and estrogen. Okay, progesterone and estrogen. So both these hormones control the level of these gonadotropin releasing hormone. Therefore correct answer will be option B, estrogen and progesterone. Question number 32 is from the chapter Human Health and Disease, and the question is, antivenom injection contains preformed antibodies while polio drops that are administered into the body contain, options are attenuated pathogens, activated pathogens, harvested antibodies and gamma globulins. So first of all, let's understand how does antivenom injection works. We know that antivenom injection is given after a snake bite, right? So whenever a snake bites a person, then we know that poison is released into the body, and that poison is known as venom. Now, when this is introduced into the body, then there is an urgent requirement that body reacts to this venom, right? But the body does not have much time to prepare antibody against this. So we have to give the ready-made or pre-formed antibodies to react to this. Okay, pre-formed, that is ready-made antibodies. And then these antibodies can work against the venom. So this is known as passive immunity. Passive immunity. Because the antibody has not been prepared by the body itself, it is given from outside. But in case of poliovirus, there is a difference. Here we don't wait for the attack of the virus. Instead, we prepare the body in advance for that attack by giving vaccine. And the vaccine that is taken in case of polio is known as oral poliovirus vaccine, that is OPV, right? And what happens here, we give the weakened pathogen or attenuated pathogens. That means weakened pathogens into the body so that the body can prepare the antibody against this virus, and when it is actually attacked by this virus, then it can readily react to it. And this is known as active immunity. Active immunity, because the antibody is prepared by the body itself. Okay, so the correct answer will be option A, that is attenuated pathogens are administered into the body. Okay. Now question number 33 is from the chapter Neural Control and Coordination, and the question is photosensitive compound in human eye is made up of, options are transducin and retinine, guanosine and retinol, opsin and retinal, and opsin and retinol. Okay, so we know that human eye consists of photosensitive cells, right? Let's write it down here. Human eye, it consists of photosensitive cells. And these cells are rods and cones. Now these photosensitive cells produce different kinds of pigments or compounds. So one of the most common pigment is rhodopsin. So this is the photosensitive pigment or photosensitive compound that we are talking about, and we have to tell what it is made up of. So these are made up of proteins known as opsin and retinal. Okay, so the correct option will be option number C, that is opsin and retinal. Now question number 34 is from the chapter Anatomy of Flowering Plants, and the question is specialized epidermal cells surrounding the guard cells are called, options are lenticels, complementary cells, subsidiary cells, and bulliform cells, and the correct answer is option C, that is subsidiary cells. Okay, so we know that guard cells and subsidiary cells both are modifications of epidermal cells only. The only difference is that guard cells contain chloroplast, whereas subsidiary cells don't, and subsidiary cells surround the guard cells, right? So the correct answer is option number C. Question number 35 is from the chapter Animal Kingdom, and the question is which of the following features is not present in the phylum Arthropoda? Options are joint appendages. So this is a feature of Arthropoda. Okay. Second option is chitinous exoskeleton. This is also present in Arthropoda. Third one is metameric segmentation. This is also present in Arthropoda. And the last one is parapodia. This is not true because parapodia is a characteristic of Annelida. Okay. Annelida, not Arthropoda. Therefore, option D will be the correct answer. Question number 36 is from the chapter Circulation, and the question is reduction in pH of blood will, option A, release bicarbonate ions by the liver, option B, reduce the rate of heartbeat, option C, reduce the blood supply to the brain, and the last one is decrease the affinity of hemoglobin with oxygen, and the correct answer is option number D, that is decrease the affinity of hemoglobin with oxygen. Now let's see how. We know that reduction in pH, that means low pH. Low pH, it means acidic condition, right? Now what does acidic condition mean? It means that there will be more H plus ion concentration. Okay, so H plus ion concentration will increase, and due to this increase the concentration of carbon dioxide will also increase. Okay, why the amount of carbon dioxide will increase? Because we know that when carbonic acid, that is H2CO3, dissociates, it gives H plus ion and bicarbonate ion, okay, HCO3 minus. Now this bicarbonate ion will further give carbon dioxide. So an increase in H plus ion means an increase in carbon dioxide as well, because both are produced as a result of dissociation of carbonic acid. Okay, so we can say that there will be more amount of carbon dioxide in the blood. Now due to this increase, the hemoglobin affinity to bind with oxygen will decrease. Okay, affinity to bind with oxygen, we are talking about the hemoglobin affinity, right? Hemoglobin affinity to bind with oxygen will decrease, okay, and oxyhemoglobin will dissociate. Oxyhemoglobin will dissociate. So we can say that it will decrease the affinity of hemoglobin with oxygen. That is option D is correct answer. Next question is from the chapter Animal Kingdom, and the question is, which of the following characteristic features always holds true for the corresponding group of animals? Okay, that means there will be no exception. The first one is three-chambered heart with one incompletely divided ventricle, and this is the characteristic feature of reptilia. So in general, yes, this is true, but there is an exception, and that is crocodile. As we know that crocodile is a reptile which contain a four-chambered heart, not three-chambered heart, right? That means this will not always hold true. So this is not the correct answer. Then second one is cartilaginous endoskeleton is the feature of chondrichthyes. Now this is correct. There is no exception in this. Chondrichthyes have which kind of body? Streamlined body. Okay. Streamlined body, and they have cartilaginous endoskeleton without exception. So this is true. Then the third one is viviparous, and that is a feature of mammalia. So again, in general, this is correct that mammals are viviparous. That means they give birth to young ones. But there is an exception again, and that is platypus. Platypus. We know that platypus is a mammal which lays eggs. Okay. That means it is oviparous. Oviparous, not viviparous animal. So again, due to this exception, this will not always hold true. Then the last one is possess a mouth with an upper and lower jaw, and that is a feature of chordata. Now again, this is also not true, because we know that chordata is divided into three subphylums. First one is Urochordata. Then we have Cephalochordata. These are together known as Protochordata. And the third subphylum is Vertebrata. Now this Vertebrata is again divided into two groups. First one is Agnathostoma. Agnathostomata, or in short you can say Agnatha. Okay, and the second one is Gnathostomata. Now the difference is that Agnatha lacks jaws. Okay, jaws are absent here. whereas Gnathostomata have jaws. Okay, jaws are present. So we can say that this is also not always, this will also not always hold true, because there is an exception, Agnatha, which does not contain jaw. Okay, so the only one that will always hold true is the second one, cartilaginous endoskeleton being the feature of chondrichthyes. So option B is the correct answer. Question number 38 is from the chapter Principles of Inheritance and Variation, and the question is, match the terms in column 1 with their description in column 2 and choose the correct option. So in column 1, the first term is dominance. Now what does dominance mean? We know that there are two alleles of a gene. For example, if we talk about the gene for height, then two types of height are possible, either tall or dwarf. Now suppose the allele for tall is capital T and that for dwarf is small t. So in homozygous organism, only one type of allele will be present. That means either capital T or small t. So capital T, it is quite obvious that it will show tall character, whereas small t will show dwarf character. But what will happen in case of heterozygous organism? Heterozygous organism. In this case, both the alleles will be present. That means capital T and small t both. Now in this case, which height will be expressed? So one of them will have to be dominant over the other. So for example, capital T is dominant here. So the resulting progeny will show the character of capital T, that is a tall height. Okay. So the correct match for A will be number 2. In a heterozygous organism, only one allele expresses itself. Okay. So the match for A is number 2. Now second one is codominance. That means out of these two alleles, both will be able to express themselves. For example, if we talk about the colors of flowers. So if one of the flower is red and the other is yellow, then the resulting progeny will be somewhere mixture of these two, because both colors will be able to express themselves. Okay. So that is the example of codominance. The correct match for B will be then number 3. In a heterozygous organism, both alleles express themselves fully. Okay. So the B will be matched with number 3. Third one is pleiotropy. Now pleiotropy means a single gene influences many characters, and polygenic inheritance means many genes will govern a single character. So polygenic means, poly means many and genic, that is related to gene. So many genes will govern a single character, and in pleiotropy a single gene will influence many characters. Okay. So C will be matched with number 4 and D will be matched with number 1. So according to that, the correct answer will be option number C. Question number 39 is from the chapter Biomolecules, and the question is, a typical fat molecule is made up of option A 3 glycerol and 3 fatty acid molecules, option B 3 glycerol molecules and 1 fatty acid molecule, option C 1 glycerol and 3 fatty acid molecules, and the last one is 1 glycerol and 1 fatty acid molecule. So the correct answer is option C, that is 1 glycerol and 3 fatty acid molecule, because 1 glycerol contains 3 carbon. Okay, so this is glycerol, CH2OH, then CH2OH and CH2OH. Okay, this is the glycerol molecule. Now it will react with 3 fatty acids. So the general formula for fatty acid is RCOOH. Okay. Now this length of chain can vary, alkyl chain. So this R will vary from one fatty acid to another. So let's write it like this, RCOOH. It will be easy to show the reaction. So let's write R1 here. Here R2, C double bond OH. This is another fatty acid. And then the third fatty acid, R3, C double bond OH. Okay. Now how will the reaction take place? So hydrogen from glycerol and OH from fatty acid will be removed as water molecule. Okay. Similarly, here also one water molecule will be removed, and in this also one water molecule will be removed. So what will be formed here? Let's see. This side we have CH2O, right? And from the fatty acid, what is left? C double bond O and R. Okay. Here we have CHO, C double bond O, R2 there. And here again CH2O, C double bond O, R3. Okay. So this is the triglyceride or the fat molecule. Plus we have seen that 3 water molecules have been eliminated. So 3 water molecules will also be there. Okay. So this is how fat is formed from 1 glycerol molecule and 3 fatty acid molecules. Okay. So option C is the correct answer. Question number 40 is from the chapter Morphology of Flowering Plants, and the question is proximal end of the filament of stamen is attached to option A thalamus or petal, option B anther, option C connective, and option D placenta. So this is a direct question. We know that the proximal end of the filament is attached to the thalamus or the petal. So option A will be the correct answer. Question number 41 is from the chapter Biomolecules, and the question is which one of the following statements is wrong? So the first statement says glycine is a sulfur containing amino acid. Now this statement is incorrect. Let's see the structure of glycine first. This is the central carbon. It contains one alkyl group, one amino group, and one carboxyl group. Okay, so these groups are present in all the amino acid. Now different amino acid have different fourth group attached to this carbon. So in glycine the fourth group is simple hydrogen. So this is the simplest amino acid. Okay, that means there is no additional group or no complex group attached to this carbon, and it is neither acidic nor basic in nature. Neither acidic nor basic, or we can say this is a neutral amino acid, right? This is glycine. So we can see that this is not the sulfur containing amino acid, therefore it is incorrect statement. And what are the examples of sulfur containing amino acid? Methionine and cysteine. Okay, let's write it down here. Methionine and cysteine are sulfur containing amino acid. Okay. Now let's come to the second statement. It says sucrose is a disaccharide. This is absolutely correct statement. We know that sucrose is made up of glucose and fructose, right? Glucose and fructose. Then the third statement says cellulose is a polysaccharide. This is also true. And what is the monosaccharide that the cellulose is made up of? It is made up of glucose. Okay. Then the last statement says uracil is a pyrimidine. This is also correct. Okay. What are the examples of purine? There are two purines, adenine and guanine. And pyrimidine, these are cytosine, uracil and thymine. Okay. Uracil is found in RNA and thymine is found in DNA. So we can say that uracil is a pyrimidine. So out of all the given statements, only the first one, that is option A, is wrong. So this will be the answer here. Now question number 42 is from the chapter Transport in Plants, and the question is water vapor comes out from the plant leaf through stomatal opening. Through the same stomatal opening, carbon dioxide diffuses into the plant during photosynthesis. Reason out the above statement using one of the following options. So first let's understand what is stomata. We know that stomata are small openings or pores in the epidermis of the leaves, right? So let's write it down here. These are minute pores or openings present on epidermis of leaves. Epidermis means the outermost layer, right? Now there are two major functions of stomata. One is transpiration, that is loss of water in the form of water vapor. Okay, loss of water vapor, that is evaporation, right? And the second one is exchange of gases. Exchange of gases, that is oxygen and carbon dioxide. So it takes place during photosynthesis also. Now let's come to the options. First option says one process occurs during daytime and the other at night. So we are talking about transpiration and photosynthesis, right? So this is not true because photosynthesis takes place at daytime and transpiration also takes place mostly during the daytime. Okay, so this is not true. Then the second statement says, second option, both processes cannot happen simultaneously. So this is also not true because both processes can take place simultaneously. Okay, there is no such hard and fast rule. And the third statement says both processes can happen together because the diffusion coefficient of water and carbon dioxide is different. Now this is a correct statement. Okay. So what does diffusion coefficient means? Diffusion coefficient basically explains the ability of a substance to diffuse. Okay. It represents the ability of a substance to diffuse through some medium. Okay. For example, if we talk about water and carbon dioxide, then suppose this is the leaf of a plant. Now, during transpiration, we know that water is lost. That means water moves out of the plant. So when does it happen? It happens when the concentration of water is more in the plant than in the surrounding. Okay, so the concentration of water in the outside environment is less and that inside the plant cell is more, therefore it comes out of the plant, right? And the case is different with carbon dioxide because we know that during photosynthesis carbon dioxide is continuously being utilized for the formation of carbohydrate, right? That means the concentration of carbon dioxide is being reduced inside the plant cell because it is being utilized to make carbohydrate. So carbon dioxide concentration is low inside the plant cell as compared to the concentration outside the plant. Okay. Therefore, the carbon dioxide will move from outside towards inside, from high concentration to low concentration. So we can say that water and carbon dioxide have different abilities to diffuse. Okay. They have the ability to diffuse differently, okay, or in different ways, one outside and the other towards inside, right? So they have different diffusion coefficient. Okay, so this is the correct statement. The last statement says the above processes can happen only during night time. This is again not true. Okay, so the only correct statement is the third one, so option C will be the correct answer. Question number 43 is from the chapter Cell, the Unit of Life. And the question is, a complex of ribosomes attached to a single strand of RNA is known as, options are Okazaki fragment, polysome, polymer and polypeptide. And the correct answer is option B, that is polysome. Okay. So suppose this is the RNA. So we know that there are a number of ribosome units attached here. So these are known as polyribosome or polysome in short. Okay. So option B is the correct answer. What are Okazaki fragment? These are the fragments that are formed during DNA replication. Okay. During DNA replication in the lagging strand. For example, if this is your DNA and replication is taking place, one is continuous strand and the other is lagging strand. So these are the Okazaki fragments. Right. Polypeptide is a long chain of amino acids. So the correct answer is option B. Others are not correct. Question number 44 is from the chapter Ecosystem. And the question is, which one of the following is a characteristic feature of cropland ecosystem? Options are ecological succession, absence of soil organisms, least genetic diversity, and then absence of weeds. And the correct answer is option C, that is least genetic diversity. It is the most important feature of cropland ecosystem, right? We know that cropland ecosystem is a man-made ecosystem, right? Man-made or artificial ecosystem. And it contains more or less same type of crop plants. Same type of crop plants. And at a time, only one or two species of crops are grown. Only one or two species are produced at a time. Okay. Therefore, there is very less genetic diversity in this ecosystem. Least genetic diversity. Okay. So option C is the correct answer. Question number 45 is from the chapter Biodiversity and Conservation, and the question is, which of the following is the most important cause of animals and plants being driven to extinction? Options are co-extinctions, overexploitation, alien species invasion, and habitat loss and fragmentation. So all of them are causes of extinction of plants and animals, but the most important of them is the last one, that is habitat loss and fragmentation. And the reason is growing population, or you can say overpopulation, right? Overpopulation. So in order to fulfill the demand of growing population, various developmental works are going on. Okay, developmental works. For example, constructions of roads or buildings, etc. And how do we construct them? By eliminating the forests, right? Because there is lack of space, so forests are being eliminated, or you can say habitats are being used. Okay, so due to that, the animals and plants are losing their habitat, and that is known as habitat loss. And fragmentation means, suppose this is your forest and road is being constructed here. So due to the construction of road, this habitat of animals has been fragmented into different parts, right? So this is known as fragmentation. So option D will be the correct answer. Question number 46 is from the chapter Photosynthesis in Higher Plants. And the question is, in a chloroplast, the highest number of protons are found in. Options are antenna complex, stroma, lumen of thylakoids, and intermembrane space. And the correct answer is option C, that is lumen of thylakoids. Okay. So what are thylakoids? Suppose this is the chloroplast. So here we have some flattened discs. Okay, flattened membranous disc. That means they contain some membrane. So these discs are known as thylakoids, and they are arranged in stack, one over the other. Okay, and each stack is known as grana. Now this space is known as stroma of the chloroplast, right? The membrane of the thylakoid is known as thylakoid membrane, and the inner space of the thylakoid is known as lumen of thylakoid. Okay. Now what is this made up of? This thylakoid is composed of protein and lipid. Protein and lipid. And what is the importance of thylakoid? It is the site of photochemical reactions. Okay, site of photochemical reactions during the photosynthesis, right? So what happens during photosynthesis? The protons are accumulated inside the thylakoid, that means in the lumen of the thylakoid. Therefore option C will be the correct answer. Question number 47 is from the chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance, and the question is, which of the following is not required for any of the techniques of DNA fingerprinting available at present? So what is DNA fingerprinting? It is also known as DNA profiling, right? DNA profiling. And it is used to determine the genetic makeup of an individual. Determine the genetic makeup of an individual. Now let's see the options. The first option is DNA-DNA hybridization. So this is important in DNA fingerprinting. What is DNA-DNA hybridization? In this, a fragment of DNA is taken and it is hybridized with another DNA fragment in order to find the extent or degree of similarity between the two DNAs. Okay. Now, second one is polymerase chain reaction, that is PCR. This is also a part of DNA fingerprinting and it is used for amplification of DNA, right? Amplification of DNA. Third one is zinc finger analysis. This is not a part of DNA fingerprinting. This is used to stabilize the 3D structure of protein. Okay, stabilize the 3D structure of proteins. So this is related to protein, not DNA fingerprinting. The last one is restriction enzyme. This is also used in DNA fingerprinting to produce fragments. Okay, to produce fragments, because it is used to cut the DNA, right? It cuts the DNA. So option C will be the correct answer. Zinc finger analysis. It is not required in DNA fingerprinting. Question number 48 is from the chapter Biological Classification, and the question is, the primitive prokaryotes responsible for the production of biogas from the dung of ruminant animals include the options are eubacteria, halophiles, thermoacidophiles and methanogens. So first of all, it is given that primitive prokaryotes, right? Primitive means we are talking about the archaebacteria, okay? Archaebacteria, not eubacteria. So eubacteria is definitely not the correct answer, right? Now, second one is halophiles. So halophiles is also not correct because these are the bacteria which are found in very salty condition. Salty condition, the areas having high salt content. Then the third one is thermoacidophiles. This is also not true because these are the bacteria which are found in areas having very high temperature. High temperatures. That means very hot areas or areas having low pH. The fourth one is methanogens. So this is true. And we know that biogas contain methane, right? So as the name suggests, methanogens are the bacteria that are responsible for the production of methane or biogas from the dung of ruminant animals. And we know that methanogens are found in the gut of ruminant animals. Okay, gut of ruminants. So these are also found in the dung of ruminant animals. So option D will be the correct answer. Now question number 49 is from the chapter Structural Organization in Animals, and the question is, which of the following features is not present in Periplaneta americana? So what is Periplaneta americana? It is the scientific name of cockroaches, right? So this question is about cockroach. Now let's see what are the features mentioned here. The first feature is metamerically segmented body. Now what is metameric segmentation? It means the body is divided linearly into different parts or segments like this. Suppose this is the body. So it is divided into these linear segments and each segment is known as metameres. So this type of segmentation is known as metameric segmentation, and this is one of the features of Arthropoda phylum. Okay, Arthropoda. So cockroaches also belong to Arthropoda phylum. Therefore, this is correct for cockroach, right? It is present. Now, the second one is schizocilome as body cavity. So what is schizocilome? Schizocilome. It is a body cavity that lies between the digestive tract and the musculature of the body wall. Okay, let's write it down here. It lies between digestive tract and musculature of body wall. Now the most important point is the formation of schizocilome. How is it formed? So it is formed by the splitting of the mesoderm. Okay, splitting of mesoderm. And what is mesoderm? It is the middle germ layer that is present between ectoderm and endoderm, right? So when it splits, it leads to the formation of schizosylome. So yes, this is also one of the features of cockroaches. So this is also present there. Now the third one is indeterminate and radial cleavage during embryonic development. So what is meant by indeterminate cleavage? See, it is a type of cleavage in which when an egg divides into cells, suppose this is one egg, now it divides into two different cells. So each one of them will have the potential of developing into complete organism. Okay. So it will develop into some organism. It will also develop into the organism. Okay. That means these are not dependent on any other cell. Okay. So this is indeterminate cleavage. And what is meant by radial cleavage? Radial is one of the simplest cleavage pattern in which the division planes are at 90-degree relative to each other. Okay, let's write it down here. Radial cleavage. The division planes are at 90-degree relative to each other. Now 90-degree relative to each other means that suppose this is the egg, right? Now first it is divided like this horizontally. So these will be two different cells formed, right? Now next division will be 90-degree as compared to this initial division. That means it will be like this, the next division. Okay, so these will be divided like this. Okay, got it? So both these type of cleavage, indeterminate and radial cleavage, are the features of deuterostomes. Okay, these are found in deuterostomes. And deuterostomes consists of echinoderms, hemichordates and chordates, but not arthropoda. Therefore, this is not the feature present in cockroaches, right? The last one says exoskeleton composed of N-acetyl glucosamine. So we know that exoskeleton of the cockroaches consists of chitin, right? And chitin is made up of N-acetyl glucosamine, that is written as NAG in short. So yes, this is also correct for cockroaches. The only incorrect one is the third one, that is option C will be the correct answer. Question number 50 is from the chapter Strategies for Enhancement in Food Production, and the question is a system of rotating crops with legume or grass pasture to improve soil structure and fertility is called. Options are shifting agriculture, lay farming, contour farming and strip farming, and the correct answer is option B, that is lay farming. So what is lay farming? It is basically alternate growing of crops and legumes or grass. Okay, alternate growing of crops and grass or legumes. That means one time crops are grown and the next time a grass or legume is grown. Okay, this is known as crop rotation. Okay, that means only one thing is not continuously grown. So why we grow grass or legumes after crops? Because there are certain advantages. Grass improves the soil structure. Okay, it improves soil structure and it also prevents soil erosion. Soil erosion. And what does legumes do? They enrich the soil nitrogen. Okay, enrich soil nitrogen. So this way the soil structure and fertility is maintained, or we can say the health of the soil is maintained. Okay, so the correct answer will be lay farming, option number B. Question number 51 is from the chapter Microbes in Human Welfare, and the question is which of the following is wrongly matched in the given below. First microbe that is mentioned here is Clostridium botulism, which is a bacterium, right? And the related product mentioned here is lipase, which is not correct because Clostridium botulism is used to produce butyric acid. Okay, butyric acid, not lipase. So this is incorrect, and butyric acid is used for the preparation of butyrate esters. Now the second one is Trichoderma polysporum, which is a fungus. The related product here is cyclosporin A, which is absolutely correct. It is produced by Trichoderma polysporum, and the application is that it is used as an immunosuppressive drug in organ transplant patients. Okay, in organ transplant patients. So this one is correct. Now the third one says Monascus purpureus. This is the microbe, and the related product is statin. This is also correct. Okay. So statin is produced by the yeast known as Monascus purpureus. So this is an yeast. Okay. And the application mentioned here is lowering of blood cholesterol. This is also correct. This is used as blood cholesterol lowering agent. So this is also a correct match. Now the last one is streptococcus. This is again a bacterium. The related product is streptokinase. Again, it is a correct one. And we know that this is used as clot buster. Okay. Clot buster. That means removal of clot from blood vessels of patients who have undergone myocardial infarction. So this is also correct match. So the only incorrect match is the first one. Okay. So the correct answer will be this option number A. Question number 52 is from the chapter Body Fluids and Circulation, and the question is, in mammals, which blood vessel would normally carry largest amount of urea? Options are hepatic portal vein, renal vein, dorsal aorta, and hepatic vein. And the correct answer is option D, that is hepatic vein. Why? The reason is that this is the vein that leaves the liver. Okay, so it leaves liver. Now, how is liver important here? We know that urea cycle takes place in liver. Okay, urea cycle, that is also known as ornithine cycle, takes place in liver. So obviously the vein that is leaving liver will possess the maximum urea. So hepatic vein will be the correct answer. Question number 53 is from the chapter Principles of Inheritance and Variation, and the question is, pick out the correct statement. So the first statement is hemophilia is a sex-linked recessive disease. So this is a correct statement because the abnormal gene responsible for hemophilia is carried on the X chromosome. Okay, so the abnormal gene is present on X chromosome. So this is the correct one. Now the second statement says Down syndrome is due to aneuploidy. So this is also correct. What is aneuploidy? It is a condition of having an abnormal number of chromosomes. Okay, let's write it down here. Aneuploidy. It means having abnormal number of chromosomes. Number of chromosomes in a haploid set of chromosomes. Okay, now how is Down syndrome caused? It is caused due to an extra copy of one of the chromosomes. Okay, Down's syndrome is caused due to extra copy of chromosome. And specifically it is caused due to the one extra copy of chromosome 21. Okay, chromosome 21. So instead of two copies which generally chromosomes have, it has three copies. Okay, so this causes the Down syndrome. Now the third statement says phenylketonuria is an autosomal recessive gene disorder. So this is also a correct statement. And the last one says sickle cell anemia is an X-linked recessive gene disorder. So it is not X-linked recessive gene disorder. So this is incorrect. This is autosomal recessive. Okay, autosomal, not X-linked. So first, second and third, that means A, B and C are correct, but D is wrong. So the correct answer will be the first option, that is A, B and C are correct. Okay, option number A will be the correct answer. Question number 54 is from the chapter Digestion and Absorption. And the question is, which of the following guards the opening of hepatopancreatic duct into the duodenum? Okay. So what is duodenum? It is the first part of small intestine, right? First part of small intestine. And we know that for digestion to take place, food from the stomach has to pass through the small intestine and then large intestine, right? Now, what is hepatopancreatic duct? Let's understand this. We know that the cells of liver are known as hepatic cells, right? Hepatic cells. That means cells of liver. So, these cells secrete some bile, okay, bile juice, and that passes through the hepatic ducts, okay. This bile juice passes through hepatic ducts. Hepatic ducts. And then finally it is stored and concentrated in the gallbladder. Gallbladder. Okay, this is the basic thing. Let's write GB in short. Now what happens? Duct from the gallbladder along with the hepatic duct forms the common bile duct. Okay, common bile duct, or simply we can write bile duct. Okay, now this bile duct and the pancreatic duct, that means the duct from the pancreatic duct, these two open together into the duodenum, that is the first part of the small intestine, as hepatopancreatic duct. Hepatopancreatic duct. So now I hope you understood what is hepatopancreatic duct, and this duct is guarded by the sphincter of Oddi. Guarded by sphincter of Oddi into the first part of the small intestine, that is duodenum. Okay, so the correct answer will be option number A. Sphincter of Oddi guards the opening of hepatopancreatic duct into the duodenum. Question number 55 is from the chapter Cell, and the question is, microtubules are the constituents of. So what are microtubules? These are the polymers of tubulin protein, right? Polymer of tubulin protein. These are found in the cytoplasm of the cell. And which kind of cell? Eukaryotic cell. Okay. These are actually part of cytoskeleton of the eukaryotic cell. Cytoskeleton of eukaryotic cell. And where are these found? These are found in the spindle fibers, because spindle fibers are made up of microtubules only. Okay. Spindle fibers, then centrioles, and then the structures that are related to locomotion, such as flagella and cilia. Okay. So let's see. In the first one, we have centrosome, nucleosome, centrioles. See, nucleosome is related to the nucleus, right? So this cannot be the correct answer because these are found in the cytoplasm only. Second one has cilia, flagella and peroxisomes. These are not found in peroxisome, so this is also not correct. Third one is spindle fibers, centrioles and cilia. Yes, so microtubules are found in spindle fibers, centrioles and cilia, all of them. Okay. In the last one also we have chromatin, that is related to the DNA, and DNA is found in the nucleus. So this is also not possible. So the correct answer will be option number C. Question number 56 is from the chapter Sexual Reproduction and Flowering Plants, and the question is, the coconut water from tender coconut represents. Options are free nuclear endosperm, endocarp, fleshy mesocarp and free nuclear proembryo. So let's see. We know that the outer covering of the coconut is known as pericarp, right? Pericarp. So this is the outer covering. Now this covering consists of three layers. Outermost layer is known as epicarp. Okay. So outer layer of pericarp is known as epicarp or exocarp, and it is the smooth part, or simply you can say the coconut husk. Okay. Then the middle layer consists of fibrous part that is known as mesocarp. Okay, this is fibrous. And finally, the innermost layer is known as endocarp. Inner layer is known as endocarp. And this is the toughest part or the stony part of the coconut. Okay. Now, when we move inside, then inside the pericarp, we'll find the endosperm. Endosperm. Now this endosperm is also of two types. First is the cellular endosperm, and the second one is free nuclear endosperm. Okay, free nuclear. Now in cellular endosperm is that part which is milky in appearance, okay, milky part. Whereas free nuclear is nothing but the coconut water about which the question has been asked. So we can say that the coconut water from the tender coconut is free nuclear endosperm. Okay. So the correct answer will be option number A. Question number 57 is from the chapter Morphology of Flowering Plants, and the question is Tricarpillary Syncarpus gynoecium is found in the flowers of options are Poaceae, Liliaceae, Solanaceae and Fabaceae. So what is meant by tricarpillary? First we know that carpel are the female reproductive organs, okay? Female reproductive organs of the flower, right? Now, tricarpellary means three carpels. So, those flowers which have three carpels are known as tricarpellary. And what is meant by syncarpus? When the carpels are fused, then these are known as syncarpus. Right? Now, let's see. In the first option, we have Poaceae. So, Poaceae are monocarpellary, not tricarpellary. Okay? Monocarpellary. That means they have only one carpel. Then the second option is Liliaceae. So these are tricarpellary. They have three carpels. Also, these carpels are fused. So these are syncarpus. Okay. So this is correct according to this question. Then the third one is Solanaceae. Solanaceae are bicarpellary. Okay. These have two carpels. Right. So this is also not correct. And then the last one is Fabaceae. This is again monocarpellary. Monocarpellary. So the correct option according to this question is option number B. Question number 58 is again from Morphology of Flowering Plants, and the question is which of the following is not a stem modification? Okay. So the first one is flattened structures of opuntia. Now this is a stem modification. Stem modification. This is chlorophyllous. Phylus, that means it consists of chlorophylls and it is actually phyloclad. Phyloclad. Phyloclad is what? It is a modified stem that functions like leaf. Modified stem that resembles and functions like a leaf. Okay. So the opuntia has a modified stem like this. Okay, flattened flattened stems that looks like leaves, and it is grown in hot areas. Okay. Now, the second option is picture of Nepenthes. Now, this is not a modified stem. It is instead a modified leaf. Modified leaf. We know that this is an insectivorous plant. So, the leaf is modified in order to attract and digest the insects. Okay. In order to attract and digest insects. Now the third option is thorns of citrus. So we know that thorns are always modified stems. Okay, thorns are modified stems, whereas spines are modified leaves. Okay, so thorns will also be the modified stem. Now the last one is tendrils of cucumber. So this is also modified stem, and it is used for climbing, right? So the only option which is not a modified stem is the second one. So option B will be the correct answer. Question number 59 is from the chapter Biotechnology, and the question is the Taq polymerase enzyme is obtained from. Options are Pseudomonas putida, Thermus aquaticus, Thiobacillus ferroxidans, and Bacillus subtilis. So the correct answer is option number B, that is Thermus aquaticus. Okay, as we know that Thermus aquaticus is a thermophilic bacteria, thermophilic bacteria, or we can say it is a thermophile because it can thrive at high temperature. Now this enzyme, that is Taq polymerase is also an enzyme that is heat stable or stable at high temperature. Okay, stable at high temperature because it is isolated from this thermophilic bacteria. Okay, and it is used in PCR, that is polymerase chain reaction, because in that we have to apply very high temperature at one of the steps. So this enzyme remains stable in that step. Okay, so the correct answer will be option number B. Question number 60 is from the chapter Morphology in Flowering Plants, and the question is stems modified into flat green organs performing the functions of leaves are known as. Options are scales, cladodes, phyllodes, and phyloclades, and the correct answer is option number D, that is phyloclades. In question number 58 we saw that opuntia consists of phyloclades. Okay, it is found in opuntia, and we know that phyloclades are nothing but the stems which have been modified into green leaf-like structure. Okay, so they resemble leaves, and they chlorophyll, contain chlorophyll. Therefore, they perform the functions of leaves, right? So option D will be the correct answer. Question number 61 is from the chapter Human Health and Disease, and the question is in higher vertebrates the immune system can distinguish self cells and non-self. If this property is lost due to genetic abnormality and it attacks self cells, then it leads to. Options are active immunity, allergic response, graft rejection, and autoimmune diseases. So what happens? Generally, the immune system of our body attacks the non-self cells, that is the foreign cells that enter our body, right? But if this property is lost, then it attacks its own cells, okay? And that kind of disease is known as autoimmune disease. Auto means self. So the immune system attacks its own cells, therefore it is known as autoimmune disease. So option D will be the correct answer. What is active immunity? It is the direct response of the body against any foreign particle. Okay, direct response of the body or our immune system against any foreign particle, or we can say unknown pathogens. Second one is allergic response. So it is the response due to hypersensitivity of the body. Okay, hypersensitivity or certain antigens, right? Now the third one is graft rejection. So it occurs in case of graft transplants, okay, in case of organ transplant. And when transplanted tissue is rejected by the recipient immune system, then it is known as graft rejection. Okay, so this is the rejection of the transplanted tissue by recipient immune system. And the last one we have already discussed, it is the correct answer. Now question number 62 is from the chapter named The Living World, and the question is, nomenclature is governed by certain universal rules. Which one of the following is contrary to the rules of nomenclature? So let's see one by one. The first one says when written by hand, the names are to be underlined. So yes, this is a correct rule. For example, if we write the biological name of mango, then it is Mangifera indica, right? Mangifera indica. Now here if you see, the first one starts with a capital letter, whereas the second word starts with a small letter. So if these are written by hand, then we have to underline these two words separately. And what do these two words indicate? The first word indicates the name of the genus, whereas the second word indicates the name of the species. Okay, so for mango, the genus is Mangifera, whereas the species is Indica. Okay, so this is the correct rule. Now the second one says biological names can be written in any language. So this is not true, because the biological names are always written in Latin language. Okay, so for mango, the Latin name is Mangifera indica. Therefore, it is written as the biological name of mango. Okay, the third one says the first one in biological name represents the genus name, and the second is a specific epithet. So this is also correct. We have seen that Mangifera is the genus and Indica is the name of the species. Okay, so this is the correct rule. Now the last one says the names are written in Latin and are italicized. Yes, so normally these are italicized, but when we write by hand, then we don't italicize it, we just underline them separately. Okay, so this is also a correct rule. So the only incorrect rule is option number B. So it is the correct answer. Question number 63 is from the chapter Plant Kingdom. And the question is, in bryophytes and pteridophytes, transport of male gametes require. Options are water, wind, insects and birds. So we know that in bryophytes as well as pteridophytes, the male gamete is produced by the structures known as antheridia, right? Antheridia. And the male gametes are known as antherozoids. Antherozoids. So these are the male gametes, right? Now, the male gametes here are free swimming sperm cells, okay, in both these organisms, that is bryophytes and pteridophytes. Therefore, in order to reach the female gamete, they require water, okay. So they move through water to reach the female gamete that is enclosed in the archegonium, okay, female gamete. Therefore, what will be the medium of transport for male gametes? Water. So option A is the correct answer. Question number 64 is from the chapter Reproductive Health, and the question is, in context of amniocentesis, which of the following statement is incorrect? So what is amniocentesis? It is a medical procedure which is used to observe the chromosomal pattern of the developing embryo, right? So we know that developing embryo is known as fetus, and fetus is surrounded by a fluid that is known as amniotic fluid, right? Amniotic fluid. So if this is the fetus, then amniotic fluid will be surrounding this fetus. Now what happens? Some cells of the fetus get into this amniotic fluid. That means amniotic fluid will contain some cells of the fetus. Cells of the fetus. Now cells will contain chromosomes, isn't it? Chromosomes. And chromosomes have genetic information in them. So in order to find any genetic information of the growing embryo, some amount of amniotic fluid is taken using an injection, and then the chromosomal patterns are observed. Okay, so observation is done. Observation of chromosomal pattern is done, and it is used for the detection of genetic defect in the fetus, or for the prenatal sex determination. Prenatal sex determination of the fetus. So both of these are uses of amniocentesis. Now it is done mostly during the second trimester. Sometimes it can also be done during the third trimester, but mostly during second trimester, that is about 14 to 16 weeks of the pregnancy. Okay. Now let's see what statements are given here. The first statement says it can be used for detection of cleft palate. Now what is cleft palate? It is a structural defect in the child. Okay. It is a structural defect, not genetic defect. What happens when the palate of the mouth, that is the roof of the mouth, is incomplete and there is an opening in it? For example, this is the face of the child. This is eyes, nose, and here the mouth, the roof of the mouth is not complete. Instead, there is an opening here like this. Okay, it can lead to many problems, but this is a type of structural defect or developmental defect. Okay, so this is cleft palate. So we have seen that amniocentesis is used for the detection of genetic defect, not structural defect. Therefore, it is not the correct statement. Okay. Second statement says it is usually done when a woman is between 14 to 16 weeks pregnant. This is true. We have already seen. Then the third statement says it is used for prenatal sex determination. We have seen that it is used for sex determination of the fetus. So this is also correct. Then the last statement says it can be used for detection of Down syndrome. Down syndrome is a genetic defect, right? It is a genetic defect. What happens? It is caused due to the trisomy. Trisomy, that means due to the additional copy of chromosome number 21. Okay. Chromosome 21. So since this is a genetic defect, therefore amniocentesis can be used for this. So this is also a correct statement. But the incorrect one is the first one. Therefore option A is the answer here. Now question number 65 is from the chapter Digestion and Absorption. And the question is, in the stomach, gastric acid is secreted by, options are acidic cells, gastrin secreting cells, parietal cells, or peptic cells. So what is the gastric acid present in the stomach? It is hydrochloric acid, that is HCl, right? And what is the function of HCl? It converts pepsinogen into pepsine. Okay, pepsinogen, that is inactive, into the active pepsine, and this pepsine further breaks down protein into peptides, right? And the cells that secrete gastric acid, that is hydrochloric acid, are known as parietal cells or oxyntic cells. Okay, these are also known as oxyntic cells. Therefore correct answer is option number C, parietal cells. Question number 66 is from the chapter Cell Cycle and Cell Division. And the question is, spindle fibers attach on to. Options are kinetosome of the chromosome, telomere of the chromosome, kinetochore of the chromosome, and centromere of the chromosome. First of all, there is nothing known as kinetosome, right? So if we draw the structure of a chromosome, then it looks something like this. Okay. The middle portion is the centromere. These are chromatids, chromatid arms, right? Now, the surface of the centromere has a disc-shaped structure of protein known as kinetochores. Okay, disc-shaped structure known as kinetochores. That is kinetochores. Now this kinetochore helps in the attachment of chromosome to the spindle fibers. Okay, attachment of chromosome and spindle fibers. So the correct answer will be option number C, that is kinetochore of the chromosome. Okay, we know that suppose these are the chromosomes, this is the cell, then during the metaphase of the cell division, the chromosomes are aligned at the equatorial plate, right? So these are attached with the spindle fibers. The other end of the spindle fibers are attached with the poles. Okay, so this is the metaphase of the cell division, metaphase. And during anaphase, these chromosomes start moving towards the poles with the help of these spindle fibers. Okay, and these spindle fibers are attached onto the kinetochore of the chromosome. So option C will be the correct answer. Question number 67 is from the chapter Biodiversity and Conservation. And the question is, which is the national aquatic animal of India? Options are seahorse, gangetic shark, river dolphin and blue whale. And the correct answer is option C, that is river dolphin. Okay, this is the national aquatic animal and it is also known as Ganges river dolphin. Okay, Ganges river dolphin. Question number 68 is from the chapter Cell, the Unit of Life, and the question is, which one of the following cell organelles is enclosed by a single membrane? Options are nuclei, mitochondria, chloroplasts and lysosomes. So we know that nuclei, mitochondria and chloroplasts, these three are double membrane bound organelles. Okay, double membrane bound organelles. That means they contain two membranes, an outer membrane and an inner membrane, right? But lysosome has only one membrane. So this is single membrane bound. And it is part of endomembrane system of the cell. Endomembrane system. It is also known as suicide bags or suicide sacs of the cells. Okay. Why? Because they are able to digest the complete cell, leading to the death of the cell. Therefore, these are known as suicide bags. So, the correct answer according to this question is option number D, lysosomes. Question number 69 is from the chapter Biotechnology and its applications. And the question is, the two polypeptides of human insulin are linked together by, options are disulfide bridges, hydrogen bonds, phosphodiester bond and covalent bond. So the correct answer is option number A, that is disulfide bridges. Okay, the human insulin consists of two chains, chain A and chain B. Okay, and these are joined by disulfide bridges. Question number 70 is from the chapter Mineral Nutrition, and the question is, in which of the following all three are macronutrients? So what are macronutrients? We know that for the growth and development of plants, variety of minerals are required, right? Now these minerals are classified into two categories based on the amount in which they are required by the plant. For example, the minerals which are required in larger quantity are known as macronutrients. Okay, macronutrients, whereas those minerals which are required in smaller quantity are known as micronutrients. Smaller quantity, micronutrients. Now let's see the examples of macronutrients and micronutrients. So the macronutrients include nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium and sulfur. And micronutrients include chlorine, iron, boron, manganese, zinc, copper, molybdenum and nickel. Okay. Now let's come to the options. In first option, we have nitrogen, nickel and phosphorus. So nitrogen and phosphorus are macronutrients, but nickel is a micronutrient. Okay. So these three are not macronutrients. Only two are macronutrients. Now in the second option, boron is a micronutrient. Zinc is also a micronutrient and manganese is also a micronutrient. So all are micronutrients here. In the third option, iron is a micronutrient, copper is also a micronutrient and molybdenum is also a micronutrient. So here also all the minerals are micronutrients. Okay. In the last one, again molybdenum is a micronutrient. Magnesium is a macronutrient, but manganese is again a micronutrient. So in none of the given options, all three are macronutrients. Okay, at least one is micro, right? So none of them is the correct answer here. Now question number 71 is from the chapter Biological Classification, and the question is, which of the following statements is wrong for viroids? So what are viroids? These are free RNA that lack a protein coat. Okay, free RNA that lack a protein coat. We know that viruses contain a protein coat, but viroids do not have a protein coat, so their RNA is free RNA. Okay, and this RNA is of small size, very small. In fact, these are the smallest infectious agents known. Smallest infectious agents, because these cause infections in various plants. Okay, for example, potato spindle tuber disease is caused by the viroids only. Okay, now let's come to the options. The first option says their RNA is of high molecular weight. Now this, the first statement only is incorrect, because their RNA is of low molecular weight, because these are very small. Okay, so these are low molecular weight, not high. Second statement says they lack a protein coat. Yes, they do not have a protein coat. Third statement says they are smaller than viruses. Yes, this is also true, because viruses have a protein coat, but these are without protein coat. So the size also reduces. Then they cause infections. Yes, definitely these are infectious agents. So the only wrong one is the first one. So option A is the correct answer. Question number 72 is from the chapter Evolution, and the question is, analogous structures are a result of, options are stabilizing selection, convergent evolution, divergent evolution and shared ancestry. So let's see what is meant by convergent evolution and divergent evolution. We know that evolution are of two types, divergent and convergent evolution. Now, what is the meaning of divergent? It means starting from a common point and diverging to different directions, right? This is the literal meaning of divergent. Whereas convergent means coming from different points but converging at a common point. Now, what do these points indicate? In case of divergent, the starting common point indicates a common ancestry. Okay, common ancestry. It means they have common origin, right? So they will have similar anatomical structure. The organisms which have common ancestry will have similar anatomical structures. And such structures are known as homologous structures. Homologous structures. Whereas if we talk about the convergent evolution, then they are coming from different points. That means the ancestry is not common, right? They have different ancestry, so they will have dissimilar anatomical structure. Okay, so their anatomical structures are not same, but ultimately they will perform the same function. And in case of divergent, the functions will be different functions despite having a common ancestry or despite having similar anatomical structure. Okay, so in case of convergent evolution, these dissimilar anatomical structures are known as analogous structures. Okay, analogous structures. So these structures perform different functions, okay, same functions despite coming from different ancestry or despite being very different in their structures. Okay, so the correct answer will be convergent for analogous structures. Okay, analogous structures are result of convergent evolution. Question number 73 is from the chapter Human Reproduction, and the question is select the incorrect statement. The first statement says LH triggers secretion of androgens from the Leydig cells. So LH means luteinizing hormone, and it is a correct statement that they act on the Leydig cells and it stimulates the secretion of androgens, that is the male sex hormones. Okay, androgens are male sex hormones and the principal androgen is testosterone. Now let's come to the second statement. It says FSH, that is follicular stimulating hormone, stimulates the Sertoli cells which help in spermiogenesis. Again, this is a correct statement. So follicular stimulating hormone stimulates the Sertoli cells. These Sertoli cells are also known as nurse cells because these are used for nourishment of the sperms, right? And it helps in spermiogenesis. Spermiogenesis means the transformation of spermatids into the sperms, okay? Spermatids into sperms or spermatozoa. Now let's come to the third statement. It says luteinizing hormone triggers ovulation in ovary. This is also a correct statement. Okay. What happens when there is a sudden increase in the luteinizing hormone, which is also known as LH surge, then it leads to the ovulation. Okay, because just before the ovulation there is a surge in the amount of luteinizing hormone. So this is a correct statement again. Now the last statement says luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone decrease gradually during the follicular phase. So what is follicular phase? This is the phase next to the menstrual phase, right? So during follicular phase what happens? The luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone increase. Okay, they start rising, not decrease, right? So this is incorrect statement, right? Now when it happens, then these two hormones, especially the follicular stimulating hormone, leads to the development of the follicles from primary follicle to secondary follicle to tertiary follicle and then finally to the Graafian follicle. Okay, and we know that these two hormones are known as gonadotropins because these are under the influence of which hormone? Gonadotropin releasing hormone that is secreted by the hypothalamus. Okay, so these two are gonadotropins. So this is the incorrect statement. So out of the four, the last one, that is option D, will be the correct answer. Question number 74 is from the chapter Animal Kingdom, and the question is which one of the following characteristics is not shared by birds and mammals? So options are warm-blooded nature. So yes, both birds and mammals are warm-blooded animals. Okay. Second one is ossified endoskeleton. So this is also correct because birds and mammals both contain ossified endoskeleton. Third one is breathing using lungs. So yes, both contain lungs as the breathing organ. Then the last one is viviparity. Now this is not correct because we know that the birds are oviparous in nature. Okay, these are oviparous. That means they lay eggs. They lay eggs. They not give birth to the young ones directly. Whereas mammals can be oviparous or viviparous. Okay, oviparous as well as viviparous. Viviparous means they give birth to young ones. Examples of oviparous is prototherians. Okay, prototherians, they come under oviparous category, whereas the metatherians and eutherians come under viviparous category. Okay, metatherian and eutherian. So we can say that viviparity is not common between birds and mammals. So option D will be the correct answer. Question number 75 is from the chapter Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants, and the question is, which of the following statements is not correct? So the first statement says some reptiles have also been reported as pollinators in some plant species. So this is the correct statement because some reptiles such as lizards or snakes can also act as pollinators sometimes. Okay. Then the second statement says pollen grains of many species can germinate on the stigma of a flower, but only one pollen tube of the same species grows into the style. So we know that the pistil contains stigma, style, and ovary, right? Now the first part is the stigma. Suppose this pistil is of mango. Now if some pollen of apple comes here, will this pollen germinate? No, because it will not be compatible. Okay, not compatible. These two are not compatible with each other. Therefore, this will not germinate here. So we can say that pollen grains of only one specific species can germinate, not many species. So this first part is incorrect, right? Also, the second part says that only one pollen tube of the same species grows. So it's also not necessary. Sometimes more than one pollen tubes can grow inside the style. Okay. So both these parts are incorrect. So the complete statement is incorrect here. Then the third statement says insects that consume pollen or nectar without bringing about pollination are called pollen or nectar robbers. This is a correct statement because in return the plant is not benefited. Okay, so these insects are known as pollen or nectar robbers because these do not provide any benefit to the plants. Then the last statement says pollen germination and pollen tube growth are regulated by chemical components of pollen interacting with those of the pistil. Okay, so we know that whenever a pollen is landed on the stigma, then there is a chemical interaction between the pistil and the pollen, and this interaction decides whether the pollen will germinate here or not. Okay, for example, the apple pollen will not germinate because the interaction will decide that this is not compatible with the mango, right? So this is also a correct statement. So we can say that the only incorrect one is option number B. So option number B is the correct answer. Question number 76 is again from sexual reproduction in flowering plants, and the question is seed formation without fertilization in flowering plants involves the process of, options are apomixis, sporulation, budding and somatic hybridization. So the correct answer is option A, that is apomixis. Okay, so we know that ovule in the plant is converted into the seed after getting fertilized. Okay, that means after fertilization. But when it happens without fertilization, then it is known as apomixis. Okay, so here apo means without, it means without, and mixis means mixing. So here we are talking about the mixing of gametes. That is nothing but fertilization. So option A will be the correct answer. Question number 77 is from the chapter Reproductive Health, and the question is which of the following approaches does not give the defined action of contraceptive? So the first one is vasectomy prevents spermatogenesis. So what is vasectomy? Suppose this is the testis. Now there is a duct coming from the testis, that is known as vas deferens, right? This is vas deferens, through which the sperms from the testis are transported. Now in this process known as vasectomy, this vas deferens is cut and tied on both the sides, okay, like this. So this way the sperms are not transported further, right? So this is known as vasectomy. And here it is given that vasectomy prevents spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis means formation of sperms. It is the process of formation of sperms. So this is not correct because vasectomy does not stop the sperm formation. It just stops the transport of sperms. Okay. So this is incorrect. Now the second one is barrier methods prevent fertilization. So barrier methods are the physical methods, right? So they prevent the physical meeting of sperms and ovum. That is, they prevent fertilization. So this is correct. Now come to the third one. It is intrauterine devices, that is IUDs, increase phagocytosis of the sperms, suppress sperm motility and fertilizing capacity of the sperms. So this is also correct. Okay. The phagocytosis of the sperms are increased by which IUDs? By the hormonal IUDs. Okay. Hormonal IUDs. Whereas the sperm motility is suppressed and fertilizing capacity is also suppressed by the copper releasing IUDs. Copper releasing IUDs. So this is also correct. Now the fourth one is hormonal contraceptives prevent or retard the entry of sperms and prevent ovulation. So this is also correct. Okay. So the only incorrect one is the first one. So option number A is the correct answer. Now question number 78 is from the chapter Chemical Coordination and Integration, and the question is the amino acid tryptophan is the precursor for the synthesis of, options are cortisol and cortisone, melatonin and serotonin, thyroxine and triiodothyronine, and the last one is estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so what is precursor? It is the starting compound, okay, from which the synthesis of any other compound starts. So let's see. In the first one, we have cortisol or cortisone. So these are steroid hormones, right? Steroid hormones. And the precursor for them is cholesterol. Cholesterol, not tryptophan. So this is not the correct answer. Then the second one is melatonin and serotonin. So these two are peptide hormones. Peptide hormones. And their precursor is tryptophan. Okay. Tryptophan. That is an amino acid, because obviously if they are peptide hormones, their precursor must be an amino acid. So this amino acid is tryptophan. So this is the correct answer here, but still let's see the third and fourth as well. In the third one, we have thyroxine and triiodothyronine. Triiodothyronine is also known as T3 hormone, right? Now these are also peptide hormones. Peptide hormones. So their precursor is also an amino acid, but it's not tryptophan. Instead, it is tyrosine. Okay. Tyrosine is the precursor of thyroxine and triiodothyronine. Then in the last one, we have estrogen and progesterone. So these are steroid hormones. Steroid hormones, and their precursor is a lipid or steroid, not an amino acid. So the only correct option is option number B. Question number 79 is from the chapter Environmental Issues, and the question is a river with an inflow of domestic sewage rich in organic waste may result in, option A, death of fish due to lack of oxygen, option B, drying of the river very soon due to algal bloom, option C, increased population of aquatic food web organisms, and the last option is an increased production of fish due to biodegradable nutrients. So let's see what happens when there is an inflow of domestic sewage, then it will lead to an increase in nutrients in the water body or the river specifically. Okay, because the domestic sewage contain nutrients in them. Now when these nutrients are added to the river, then it will lead to dense growth of plants and planktonic algae. Okay, dense growth of plants and planktonic algae. Now what will happen? These will consume all the oxygen present in the water body. Okay. So entire oxygen is consumed and it will lead to the deoxygenation of the water body. Okay. So the river or the water body is deoxygenated. That means there is lack of oxygen. So what will happen to the fish? They will not get adequate amount of oxygen to respire and therefore they will die. Die due to lack of oxygen. Therefore, the correct answer will be option number A, death of fish due to lack of oxygen. Question number 80 is from the chapter Organisms and Population, and the question is Gauss's principle of competitive exclusion states that. So first let's understand what is Gauss's principle of competitive exclusion. So there was a scientist whose name was G.F. Gauss, and he gave the competitive exclusion principle that is also known as Gauss's law. Okay, Gauss's law. Now this law states that those species who compete for the same resources cannot coexist. Okay, so those species, let's write it down here, those species who compete for the same limiting resources cannot coexist. That means they cannot exist together, because what will happen eventually, the competitively superior species will eliminate the competitively inferior species. Okay, so competitively superior species will eliminate or exclude the competitively inferior one. Okay, so let's come to the options now. The first option says larger organisms exclude smaller ones through competition. So this is not true, because this exclusion is not related to the size of the organism. Instead, it is related to the superiority. Okay, so this is incorrect. Now come to the second option. It says more abundant species will exclude the less abundant species through competition. This is also not correct, because this exclusion is not dependent on the abundance of the species or the number of species, right? It depends on their competitiveness. Okay, then the third one is competition for the same resources excludes the species having different food preferences. So also food preferences has nothing to do here, so this is also incorrect. Then the last one says no two species can occupy the same niche indefinitely for the same limiting resources. So yes, this is correct, because ultimately the competitively superior one will eliminate or exclude the competitively inferior one. So the correct answer is option number D. Question number 81 is from the chapter Breathing and Exchange of Gases, and the question is asthma may be attributed to. Options are accumulation of fluid in the lungs, bacterial infection of the lungs, allergic reactions of the mast cells in the lungs, and inflammation of the trachea. So what is asthma? It is the extreme form of allergy, right? Allergy, and it is caused by the allergens. Caused by allergens. So these allergens are mostly viruses, but sometimes they can be non-viruses also. Okay. Now what happens during asthma? The bronchi and bronchioles of the lungs, they become narrow. Okay, due to the inflammation. Because of inflammation. So now let's see the options. In the first option, it is given that accumulation of fluid in the lungs. Asthma is attributed to accumulation of fluid in the lungs. So this is not true. Okay. Then the second one is bacterial infection of the lungs. So this can be true, because bacteria can also be acting as an allergen. Okay. So this can be true. Then the third one is allergic reaction of the mast cells in the lungs. This is also correct. Okay. Because we have seen that this is caused due to the allergy or allergic reaction. Then the last one is inflammation of the trachea. So trachea is the windpipe, right? Windpipe. So it is not caused due to inflammation in the trachea. It is caused due to the inflammation in the bronchi and bronchioles. And if we talk about the first option, accumulation of fluid in the lungs, then it causes pneumonia. Okay, pneumonia, not asthma. So we can say that B and C both can be true, but the perfect one will be option number C. Okay. Question number 82 is from the chapter Morphology of Flowering Plants, and the question is, the standard petal of papilionaceous corolla is also called. Options are corona, carina, pappus and vexillum. So first of all, let's see what is papilionaceous corolla. This is a butterfly shaped corolla. Okay, butterfly shaped, and it contains 5 petals. Now these 5 petals are arranged in this way. There is one standard petal like this. Then this standard petal encloses 2 lateral petals. Okay. And then at the bottom there are 2 petals which are fused together. Okay. Now this standard petal is known as vexillum. Vexillum. Then 2 lateral petals are known as wings or ali. And this lower one is known as keel. So here we are asked about the standard petal, right? So that is vexillum. Therefore, the correct answer will be option number D, vexillum. Question number 83 is from the chapter Biotechnology Principles and Processes. And the question is, which of the following is a restriction endonuclease? So what is a restriction endonuclease? It is an enzyme that makes a cut at the DNA strand. Okay. So it cuts the DNA at specific location. Okay. Or specific site, that is known as origin of replication, or ORI in short. Okay. Now let's see the options. The first option is RNase. So this is not a restriction endonuclease. It is an enzyme that digests the RNA. Okay. Then the second one is Hint2. So this is the correct answer because Hint2 is an example of restriction endonuclease. Okay. Third one is protease. So this is an enzyme that is used to digest protein. Okay. Then DNase, one is an enzyme that cuts the DNA, but there is no such specific location at which it cuts the DNA. Okay. This is simple nuclease enzyme. Simple nuclease enzyme. So the correct answer is option number B, Hint2. Question number 84 is from the chapter Organisms and Population, and the question is, it is much easier for a small animal to run uphill than for a large animal because option A, the efficiency of muscles in larger animals is less than that in small animals. Option B, it is easier to carry a small body weight. Option C, smaller animals have a higher metabolic rate. And the last option is small animals have lower oxygen requirement. So the correct answer is option number C, that small animals have higher metabolic rate. Okay. So in smaller animals, the BMR is higher, that is basal metabolic rate is higher. Okay. In smaller animals. So due to this, there is sustained energy production, sustained energy production, and delayed muscle fatigue. Delayed muscle fatigue. That means they will get tired. They will not get tired easily, right? So it makes them easy to run uphill as compared to the larger animals, right? Question number 85 is from the chapter Evolution, and the question is, following are the two statements regarding the origin of life. So the first statement says the earliest organisms that appeared on the earth were non-green and presumably anaerobes. So yes, this is a correct statement because the earliest organisms were non-green. They were prokaryotes, okay? They were prokaryotes, and more specifically they were prokaryotic chemoheterotrophs. Heterotrophs. That means they used chemicals as a source of food, right? And heterotrophs, that means they depended on other organisms for food. They could not make their own food, right? And they were anaerobes, presumably, because at that time oxygen was not available on the surface of the earth. Therefore, obviously, the organisms which could survive without oxygen, they were present. So they were anaerobes as well. So the first statement is correct. Then if we talk about the second statement, it says the first autotrophic organisms were the chemoautotrophs that never released oxygen. So yes, this is also correct, because initially there were prokaryotic chemoheterotrophs, but once they developed into autotrophs, still they were prokaryotic chemoautotrophs. Okay, they were chemoautotrophs. That means they were still using chemicals as a source of food. So they never released oxygen. So both these statements are correct. That means which one will be the correct answer? Option number D. Both A and B are correct. Question number 86 is from the chapter Cell Cycle and Cell Division. And the question is, a cell at telophase stage is observed by a student in a plant brought from the field. He tells his teacher that this cell is not like other cells at telophase stage. There is no formation of cell plate, and thus the cell is containing more number of chromosomes as compared to other dividing cells. This would result in, options are polygyny, aneuploidy, polyploidy and somaclonal variation. So according to this question, the nucleus was divided, right? Nucleus was divided. It means the number of chromosomes got doubled. So initially if it was 2n, then it became 4n now. But the most important thing is that there was no formation of cell plate, okay? No formation of cell plate. And what does this mean? It means that there was no cytoplasmic division. No cytoplasmic division. So the cytoplasm was not divided. So if this was the cell, initially there were 2n number of chromosomes. So what happens in case of division? The number of chromosomes is doubled. It becomes 4n, and then there is division of cytoplasm. So it becomes two cells having 2n chromosomes each. This is the normal condition. But here what happened? The cytoplasmic division did not take place. So there was a single cell, but the number of chromosomes were more than expected. It was 4n. Okay, it was more than two set of chromosomes. So this condition is known as polyploidy. Therefore, the correct answer will be option number C, polyploidy. Question number 87 is from the chapter Environmental Issues, and the question is, depletion of which gas in the atmosphere can lead to an increased incidence of skin cancers? Options are methane, nitrous oxide, ozone and ammonia. And the correct answer is option C, that is ozone. Okay. So we know that the ozone layer protects us from the harmful ultraviolet radiation of the sun. So when this ozone is depleted, what will happen? Our skin will be exposed to the UV radiations, okay, or the ultraviolet radiations of the sun. So when these radiation will come in contact with the skin, it will cause skin cancers. Okay, so the correct answer according to this question is option number C. Question number 88 is again from environmental issues, and the question is, joint forest management concept was introduced in India during, options are 1990s, 1960s, 1970s and 1980s, and the correct answer is option D, that is 1980s. Okay, so this joint forest management concept was introduced in the year 1990 for the protection and management of forest in India. Okay. Question number 89 is from the chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance, and the question is, which one of the following is the starter codon? So what is starter codon? We know that genetic code is triplet in nature, right? Genetic code, it is triplet in nature. Triplet means three nucleotides code for one amino acid, right? And each triplet is known as codon. Now, how many such codons are there? Total 64 codons are there. That means 64 triplets are there, right? Now, out of these 64 codons, one is starter codon. Okay, one is starter codon. That means this codon starts the protein synthesis. Then 60 codons just continue the protein synthesis, and then 3 codons are stop codons. Okay, these are stop codons. That means they halt the protein synthesis. Now the examples of stop codons are UAA, UGA and UAG. Whereas starter codon, there is only one starter codon, and that is AUG. And this starter codon codes for methionine. Which amino acid? Methionine. Okay. So here the question is asked about the starter codon. So the answer will be AUG, option number B. Others are stop codons. Okay. So option B is the correct answer here. Now the last question is from the chapter ecosystem, and the question is the term ecosystem was coined by, options are E. Worming, E. P. Odom, A. G. Tansley and E. Haeckel. So this is memory based question, and the correct answer is option number C, A. G. Tansley. Okay, he coined the term ecosystem, right? Who is known as the father of ecology? He is E. P. Odom. This second one, he is known as father of ecology. And E. Haeckel, he studied the interaction between the organisms and their habitat. Okay, interaction between organisms and their habitat. The first one also played important role in ecology, but he did not coin the term ecosystem. Okay, so the correct answer according to this question will be option number C, A. G. Tansley. Okay, so here we complete all the questions from NEET 2016 biology paper of phase 1. Okay, we'll be back with another session very soon. Till then, keep learning, keep scoring high. For a better understanding, you can practice the same questions from our website www.examsnet.com, and for more information, you can download our app from the link given below in the description box. Thank you so much.